Welcome back, everyone. Yes, we are back and we are ready to move forward with part seven. Conversations with Uncle Craig is getting more deep. He's unpacking a lot of things from his past. He's understanding the importance of this conversation. He has a lot of people that are interested in what he has to say. So, the last episode in six, we covered probation, anger, and his first long stay in prison. We also touched a little bit on cough syrup and how cough syrup turned into heroin and actually what age that was at that time in his life. And last, how did it affect his family, his drug addiction? And what was it like during that time? Now let's go back. We talked about the 70s era. So today we're going to talk about the 70s era.
Yeah. See, the stuff that I went through in the '60s, it was like I would have thought that I would have started toning down my behavior, but it seemed like the more I exposed myself to a bunch of negative activity, it just enhanced my behavior and made it more detrimental to me and people around me. And the last time we talked, I talked about uh, dealing with anger. Anger was probably the fuse that kept me into the state that I was in up until I was 50. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But taking it back to when I first experienced my first time with heroin, I was 15 years old. It was like 1969, 1970. Um, and now I'm in my last year of school because I'm getting ready to drop out. I dropped out at 16. My mother signed me out at 16 because she seen that my behavior was just, she still really understood. She didn't know whether it was drugs, whether I was going through a phase. So she started talking to her brothers, her sisters, and trying to get some kind of,
Advice.
right
Okay.
on, what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
The baddest decision I ever made was when I stuck that needle in my arm. And I hope people's listening to this, okay? Because there's a lot of addicts out there now. I see them every day. And I wish I'd never put that needle in my arm. But I was so angry at that time. I was so confused. And I was hanging around with a couple guys that was a couple years older than me. Okay, so they, I don't want to say they influenced me because I was drinking cough syrup before I met them. All they did was introduce me to another drug.
Okay.
And that's what addicts do. And when I put that needle in my arm, I didn't know, and this is 1970. I didn't know that that ride was going to last until 2003. Okay, and I was like a feather in a hurricane that whole time. Just imagine what a feather, the abuse that a feather takes in a hurricane, and that's how, metaphorically, I believe, that's that was my life.
Hmm.
So it was filled with. Uh, so once I started messing with the heroin, I never experienced addiction to the point where I needed that drug. Okay, all the cough syrup, I never got to that point where I needed that drug. Uh, Alcohol, I never got to the point where I needed that drug. Heroin, I abused it to the point because it took me to a place where I felt safe. I felt secure to the point where I could talk around people, talk around women, girls. You know, it just gave me a sense of, it was a false sense of security, okay? Because when I wasn't high, I was back to that shy person. So I stayed high. And what started out as a weekend thing turned into an everyday thing. And that's when I knew I had to drop out of school because I had to get up in the morning, like other kids was getting up in the morning, getting ready for school. I was getting up in the morning, making my mom think I was getting ready for school, but I was going out there to burglarize somebody's house because I knew around 9 o'clock that morning I was going to start getting sick. And it's that life, you just live a lie every day. Every day you lie, you know.
And you have to keep up the lie too.
You have to keep up the lie, but then the lie starts crashing because they start seeing a change in your appearances. They see that your hygiene then went left, okay? And I used to hide from my family, and they would be looking for me. Have you seen Craig? Have you seen Buttons? You know, aunts, uncles, my mom, and people that I was hanging with, the drug addicts, they kept that, oh no, we didn't see Craig. You know, I didn't want my family to see me the way I was. I turned into a Neanderthal. I was just surviving.
Turned into a who?
A Neanderthal.
What's that?
A caveman.
Wow. Never heard of that before. So you turned into a caveman.
Right. I was living in abandoned houses. I was living in abandoned cars. Anywhere I could shelter myself to the next day so I can get up and get my drug. So I used to hide from my mom and everything. And then the jail started. And this is when, oh man, my first, at 17, now this was from 15 when I first started getting high. Now from 15 to 17, I'm still going back and forth to jail on bits, stealing, breaking probation. These things were still happening. But at 17, they sent me to they had sent me to a juvenile facility at 17, and I left it. I ran away from there. And when they caught me, I had turned 18. So they said, Mr. Jones, you know, you done burned out the juvenile system. We done sent you to every juvenile facility that we have. He said, now that you're 18 years old, you're going to Camp Hill. Now, when I heard that, Camp Hill, that's a juvenile penitentiary because you're around grown men too. It's not just boys, it's men up there too. And that was my first, I went through Gradersfort and got a number. I was 18 years old, but at that time, Gradersfort didn't hold you there. You had to be over 22 years old to get classified to Gradersfort. Okay, because a lot of negative stuff was happening there, and they felt a guy 18 years old, he's a boy among a bunch of men, so they didn't want you there. So juvenile was more of a juvenile, Camp Hill was more of a juvenile setting because they had a lot of juveniles up there. That's where they sent you. The guys that had homicides and all kind of crazy crimes. And when I got up there,
what year was that when you got up there?
1972. Okay. And when I got up there, I still wasn't ready to change because what happened was they gave me an indefinite sentence. So from 18 to 21, they could hold me. They let me out 16 months later because I knew what I had to do. I went to school. I took the programs. I worked. I manipulated the system. Okay? And back then, the system was so naive, or they didn't care, okay, that they was putting an ex-offender back out in the street, no matter what the crime was. I got over. And it gave me a sense of, damn, I got over on the white folks. I played them. I went up there for 4 years. I only did 16 months, you know, and when I got out, I'm bragging and everything. And you know what I did? I went right back to shooting dope. I wasn't even thinking about, I came home October 73. I went up there in June of 72. I came home October 73. Okay, and I got right into shooting dope again. My mom didn't even see me. I had a needle in my arm. Yeah. And because that drug just gave me confidence. And it was like, I couldn't survive without it. I couldn't be myself.
So let's go back a little bit. So when you got out in 72, you came home.
I came home in 73.
73, okay. Thank you. You come home in 73. Where do you come home to? Who do you come home to?
No, I made parole to my mother's house.
Okay, so, but you never really interacted with your mom because of.
Well, when I first came home, I didn't want her to see my drug addiction
Okay.
and the life I was living.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wouldn't stay with her. I would always go to my aunt's house. I always had an aunt that always looked out for me when I was, because she knew what I was going through.
Gotcha.
And I had two cousins that I hung around with, and we was real tight. That was her kids. And we grew up together. So every time I came home, I more or less stayed with her, my Aunt Jean.
But you used your mom's address.
I used my mom's address to get out because it was nice. It was setting. When they came to check it out, it was clean. You know, she worked. Kids went to school.
Okay.
It was a positive setting for me to come home to. But when I came home, I went right to the dope house. A little bit of money I had, a couple dollars I had in my pocket, I went right, hey, Craig, what's up? Oh, what's going on? Yeah, give me one of them things. Damn, man, you just got out. So what? I act like I never left the streets. And see, this is a life of a drug addict. A drug addict, you know, that's why, you know, I see what's going on now, and it's just, it rips me up because I see, an addict thinks that they're the only one going through this thing. No, you're taking everybody else with you. You're taking your family with you. You're taking your woman with you. You're taking your kids with you on that journey. But we're so self-centered that we think the world evolves around us. That, oh yeah, well, I'm the only one suffering. I'm the only one going through this. No, you're not. Okay, and that's the part that I really, I
Took advantage of?
no, I feel bad about.
Okay, you feel
The
bad.
times that I was in front of my mom talking to her, and I just came out the bathroom from shooting some dope, and she didn't know it. Okay, the times I would go to my aunt's house, Aunt Jean, let me run upstairs, use the bathroom. I'm up there shooting dope. You know, my Aunt Barbara running her house, used her bathroom. All these people that was letting me in their home, they didn't know at the time that I was a cold-blooded drug addict. And from the 70s was real crazy. That's when I think I had my roughest time with drug addiction. I had 3 habits. At 17, I remember getting locked up, and they wouldn't send me back to the House of Correction because I was in the courtroom. I threw up because I was going through detox, and the judge said, "What's going on?" And the lawyer said, the PD, public defender, said, "Mr. Jones is going through detox," and everybody in the courtroom was, because even though I was 17, I looked like I was 12. I didn't have no hair on I was young, I just looked young. And everybody in the courtroom was like, whoa, they couldn't believe it. So he said, well, look, we're going to send Mr. Jones to the house, we're going to put him in Youth Study Center. And I was too old to go to Youth Study Center, but the judge said, we're going to put him in Youth Study Center, we're going to keep him in the hospital, and he's going to go to the detox every day at St. Luke's Hospital and get methadone. You know what I mean? And I did that for 7 days.
To get methadone.
Right.
And what does methadone do?
Methadone was a deterrent to drug addiction, whereas if you took that, you got the same effect that heroin gave you, and you can get hooked on it twice as fast. Okay, they didn't tell you that. But what it does is, it was a medicine you was getting every day, and you didn't have to pay for it. Okay, and being you didn't have to pay for it, that means you wouldn't be doing no burglaries, you wouldn't be doing no robberies, you wouldn't be sticking people up. You wouldn't be doing none of the foul stuff that addicts do to get the drug. This is what they thought was going to happen, but it backfired on them. Because once people got hooked on the methadone, after a month or two, you don't feel it no more, okay? You don't get that sensational high. It just makes you feel normal, where your bowels don't break, or you don't throw up and everything. It makes your body feel normal, okay? But you don't get high no more. And if you try to do drugs on top of that, you got a chance of killing yourself, okay? Because you got 2 violent drugs inside your body. And they knew this. So they got a lot of people on methadone, and then when they got the habit, you got some people to the day that's been on methadone for 30 years. They can't get off. Because the shock of their body going through a withdrawal, it will kill them, okay? This is why they on methadone for the rest of their life. I'm glad I was only on that thing. I was only on it for I was out in the streets one time. This was during the 70s. And I got on the methadone program in order to get welfare, okay? Manipulating the system, okay, when I didn't really need it. And I drank methadone for like 6 months. And I got hooked, and then I got locked up. It took me a year to get off of that. It took me a year
To get off the methadone.
to get off the methadone. I went through body aches and vomiting and all that for a whole year. I was having all kind of nightmare dreams and everything. And I said, I will never do that again. And this is something that they gave us to tell us that this is something that's going to cure us, that's going to get us off the drugs. And that's the only way I got off of it, by going to jail. And I never touched it again. But the 70s was the music. I love music. And I think that's what kept me sane to a certain extent. Because even though when I was high nodding, I always had music on. And I think that kept me close to reality. Okay, you know, and I think about the journey that I've been on so far, and I'm still here. So it's a purpose. I believe the Creator has me here for a purpose, and until that purpose is fulfilled, because I've seen so many people die around me.
Yeah.
I don't have no friends. All my friends, majority of my, if I say friends that I grew up with, they all dead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no friends down my old neighborhood. Maybe a few of them. They might not even recognize me.
Right.
And they say the older you get, the smaller your circle gets. I don't want that. I want my circle to be huge.
Right.
Because I want to reach the people out there. I want to reach the people that's hurting right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're going through. Because I've been there. You know, you might not never come out of it. You know, but just don't give up. I never gave up. I never gave up. Even though I came out, every time I came out of jail and got high, I never gave up on me. I knew one day I was going to be straight. And now I've been straight for the last 23 years.
Wow. What a number. He's been straight for the last 23 years. Episode 7 today. Thank you for joining us. Conversations with Uncle Craig. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment and let us know what you thought about in this episode, which is 7. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.